Thanks to LL Bean for presenting today's storybook with limited commercial interruption.
I never saw kelp in my future. I did grow up on Cape Cod, so I was like super familiar, comfortable being on the water. But kelp farming like wasn't ever a thing that I like knew about. It didn't exist. I was first introduced to kelp farming over a decade ago now, where I was working with Paula Fulton, and he has traveled all over the world. And he saw kelp farming in other countries and made the decision to like try, just to see like, can we make a go of this in Maine? And we were able to start the first farm. I took a little bit of a detour after doing that project and went offshore and was fishing, and made the decision that I wanted to come back a little bit closer to home, do something that was like super sustainable, and decided to put in for my own lease application. And 3 years later, you know, the farm came into being, and here it is.
We currently get all of our kelp from Colleen. She's been a partner with us since the beginning of Akua, and just this really incredible force for us to rely on. She's a badass.
I love kelp farming. I've always really enjoyed working on the water. It suits me. I like the work. I like the process. I don't see myself as a person that would do well working in an office setting. It's really interesting to be in a fishery in aquaculture and see something grow. So that's really exciting when the kelp starts to go from microscopic and you see it's like, oh, it's a couple inches now, and then all of a sudden it's a foot long, and then the growth is just exponential. That's really exciting.
The really funny thing about going out is that you get out there and they're like, we're here, and you see nothing. It's just like a few buoys. And it's not until our farmer starts pulling up the kelp that you see, it's just everything is underneath. It's not only a superfood for you, it's high in all of your key vitamins and minerals. It's got loads of iodine, which regulates like the thyroid and the metabolism, gives you energy. It actually expands in your stomach after you eat it, so it keeps you full really long, really good for your skin, hydrating, all the things.
For us, this is Mass Landing's first visit to the kelp farm. We brewed a beer in collaboration with Akua. We wanted to create a beer that paired really well with seafood. It's a perfect beer for like a Maine spring or summer to eat with seafood, and it's definitely a unique flavor profile for beer, I think. So we're excited about that too.
When a lot of people think about kelp, they think kind of gross and slimy and really salty, but when you actually pull it out of the water and you taste it, you get this really clean, refreshing taste. That's also why this partnership with Mass Landing is great, because they took those clean elements and just made a really refreshing beer.
So I actually helped Talif Olson start the very first commercial kelp farm in the US, literally just right over there in Casco Bay. And that was about a decade ago. And now there are farms of varying sizes just creeping up all along the coast. There's farms from New Jersey, New York, all the way up to Nova Scotia. There's farms in Alaska now on the West Coast. So the industry is still small, but it's definitely growing. And I think it's really good for our coastal economies to be able to diversify. You know, there's a lot of lobstermen and oyster farmers that are now getting into kelp, and it really offsets a lot of what people are working on in the summer, and it gives them a winter income as well.
One really important part about our process is that we never wild harvest. This is important because by wild harvesting, you're depleting the ocean of its kelp. So we always farm our kelp because then you constantly have more kelp in existence growing in the ocean.
I think that kelp is getting a lot of buzz for its potential to save the planet through carbon sequestration. That is a bit of a misnomer, but it's okay. It's something that we can do, working in the right direction. Falmouth had their climate meeting recently, and their target is to reduce their carbon emissions by 2% in the next year. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I went to the town, what could I do to be a part of that? That 2.2, or I think it was 2.2% reduction was 140,000 tons of carbon from one town, right? So when I math that out to say how much carbon have we actually sequestered so far this year, I would need to grow something like 7 million pounds of kelp to take up that 2.2% reduction. We all individually need to be doing more to make sure that we're still here. I've heard figures where it's it sequesters carbon 20 times more efficiently than any land-based plant, which just that blows my mind. But yeah, kelp farming is not going to save the world, but it does help. The mooring blocks, which are permanent on this farm, definitely create an ecosystem for lobsters and crabs and any of the kind of species that are living on the bottom. And it's a crop that it's zero input. It requires no fresh water, no land to grow, no fertilizer, no feed, and you end up with this nutrient-rich food with zero inputs. It's amazing. Eat more kelp. Eat more kelp burgers. Drink more kelp beer. It's crisp, it's sweet, it's clean, it's fresh. Eat more kelp. Feed your dog kelp.
At Native Maine, we work with over 88 local farms and producers across the state. It's such an honor to be able to work with such amazing farmers and manufacturers.
We really value our partnership with Native Maine. They're just a great group of people to work with. When you buy from a local business, that local business owner is using that money to pay local people to work and then go out into the community and spend those dollars. Native Maine can do that for us, and we can focus on growing the food.
We're the pros at growing the mushrooms, and Native Maine are the pros at distributing them.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Seaweed episode of Plate the State. I'm here with my friend Ruben, and his mom and dad own the Street Eats food cart in Bridgton. Now, you don't normally associate Bridgton with seaweed, but I have to tell you, we were here for Maine Seaweed Week, and we have this dish that Chef Jeremy is going to be showing you, and it is incredible. It uses a lot of different Maine seaweeds, and it is so delicious, and it's definitely worth the drive. And their food truck is always located at Mountain Range Golf, right on 302 in Bridgton, and they're doing so many awesome things. They're going to be doing a beer garden and an outdoor patio, and it's so worth the drive with your friends and family, and come enjoy. You might be able to even meet Ruben. Now let's go see what Jeremy and Megan are up to in the food truck.
We were recruited here to basically bring some new, interesting food to Bridgton.
We're foodies and we love it here, and we're kind of trying to help spread the food scene a little bit more north of Portland.
Coming here and being on a driving range to hit a bucket of balls, outstanding way to start your day and to finish it and to break in the middle. It's really an amazing life to just cook on the food truck and hit some balls and make people happy. Seeing people's reactions to my food is like the biggest gift of all. Like working in open kitchens and being in a food truck, just seeing their reactions to their first bite of food.
Oh, that is so good.
Is the most rewarding thing for me. Having my life partner with me every day, it's amazing. Like we never thought that we would be able to do that.
I'm his sous chef, I'm his partner. They do social media for the most part, and I get to be his personal photographer.
People ask, what do you recommend? I recommend everything on the menu. We use all local ingredients. We try to, utilize local farms and local purveyors as much as we can.
It really is food with a view, and you can't beat the sunsets every night. They're incredible.
On today's episode, we'll be doing a Kombu Encrusted Tuna Tataki with Yuzu, Kosho, Kelp Puree, some Kelp caviar, a little sea bean and edamame slaw. So these are our ingredients for the dish. We have some edamame, some chiffonade radicchio, some pea shoots, some pickled red onions, and a little chive and sea bean. This is some red cabbage pickled lotus root and some baby bok choy. This is my Kombu Togarashi crust. It's just chili and dried Maine seaweed. This is my ahi tuna. I'm gonna crust it in the Kombu Togarashi. Just patting it down all four sides, making sure that everything is evenly dispersed. So I'm gonna ladle a little butter and oil onto the flat top. Gonna sear it for 15 seconds on each four sides. Grab a little scallion, little mung bean sprout, little mint, little cilantro. Grab a little bit of this radicchio, a little pickled red, a little sea bean and scallion, some pea shoot. I'm gonna dress this with a little fish sauce, lime juice, yuzu juice, garlic, and ginger. This is searing up nicely. Now I'm gonna sauce the plate. Honey wasabi yogurt. This is my yuzu, kosho, kelp puree. Let the tuna rest for about 5 minutes. So the tuna's rested now. You want to make sure your knife is completely sharp. Gently let the blade go through the tuna on its own, about 1/4 inch thick. You just want to let the knife do the work. So now I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of edamame over the top of the slaw. So now I've taken the tuna over to the box and laid it over the top of the edamame sea bean slaw, just slightly separated so you can see the nice flesh of the tuna. This is some of the kelp caviar that I'm gonna place on top of the tuna. Kind of spread it over the top here. So now I'm just gonna garnish this tuna dish with a little bit of this red cabbage pickled lotus root. It's so beautiful. It makes the tuna pop. And here you have it, your Kombu Encrusted Tuna Tataki for Seaweed Week.
Oh, that is so good.
We're getting there to sunnier days, being with the ones we love, and now with those you've missed. This is you remastering the art of life. And while you're getting back at it, we'll be here to help you master the art of money. Norway Savings. Live your life in color.
This week's Pantry Tip is brought to you by Norway Savings Bank.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this Pantry Tip. We're inspired from this Pantry Tip by our podcast that we did with our wine stylist, Kat from Sopo Wines. And yes, we do have a podcast, and you can listen to all of them on platethestate.com. So our second podcast episode was all about celebrating seaweed. And Kat came on to tell us, what do we pair with seaweed, right? We assume it's sake, and sake of course goes wonderfully with it, but there's a lot of other white wines. Like this Austrian wine, this Gruner Veltliner, and the cool thing about this is actually a full liter, so you get a couple extra glasses out of it. This has light minerality, it's flinty, it's green, and so it really does a great job of working off of any of the seaweed components that you have in your dishes. We also talked to her a little bit about upcoming wine trends for summer, rosé all day, of course, on the beach. And I know we all used to turn our noses up at boxes and bags of wine, but there's a lot of really amazing wineries right now that are using boxes and bags to put their wines in. So turn your noses up no longer. Great rosés that are coming in little packages like this that you can throw in the cooler. Summer's almost here. But the actual pantry tip is going to be about sake. We're talking about seaweed, Asian influence. Sake, of course, is where it's at. But Kat loves using avocado in sake to remove the bitterness. So doing this is a really great way to use up your avocados. You don't want to use them when they've hit that like really mushy phase, but when they're a day or two away from being ripe, you're just going to take it, cut it into some slices, pop it into some sort of container. And what Kat recommends doing is, letting it sit for a couple days in the fridge, and then when she has friends over, she pulls it out, and it's a really great, refreshing summertime sipper. And the point of the avocados is it actually pulls some of the bitterness and astringency out of those lower level sakes, and it makes it a really lovely, drinkable beverage. So we're just gonna pour our sake in there. Any excuse to use my fish jug. It's when you pour it and it goes glug, glug, glug. And then let it sit for a couple days. And then you can always pull out the avocados, and you have sake-infused avocados for your salads to have with rice, and it's really great. So for this and all of our pantry tips, visit platethestate.com.
Food is passion for me. Food is love. Food brings happiness. Food brings comfort. Food is everything.
To get a culinary education here at SMCC means that you're in the heart of one of the biggest food cities in the country, right outside of Portland, Maine. They'll start here, they'll start at SMCC, and they'll start to build that foundation.
The main change that I've seen in myself is just like a confidence now that can't be replaced. I remember looking up like culinary schools in New England and not realizing that SMCC had this program. I was very excited that I could afford to send myself here and get this experience. I know how to make stuff happen for myself now, and I feel very, very confident after this program.
Hi, and welcome to this segment of Mainer Made. We have some really fun things that are coastal inspired to fit in with the seaweed theme, and then we have some really beautiful kitchen items that Kim Dailey at Dailey Woodworking makes. He's up in Carthage, Maine. It's a tiny little community of only 500 people, and he and his wife run this really beautiful woodworking business. And I have to start with this cherry cutting board that he made us. Look, it may or may not have made me cry when I opened it. How beautiful is that? You're gonna be seeing a lot more of this in the show upcoming. Beautiful woodworking, all done by hand. The wood that he uses is all locally grown and sustainably harvested. And the thing that I really want to give a shout out to is this incredible pizza cutter. First of all, it weighs a pound. You know how hard it is to cut pizza when it's this tinny thing that you get at the supermarket? This is so beautiful. It makes you feel professional. You can cut through that pizza, and then the slicer actually removes so you can wash it without hurting the wood. So Lil is an artist and owner of Maine Coastal Designs. Her sweet little studio is in South Portland, and she makes these gorgeous art pieces from found items. You can see sea glass shells. People love buying these for their cottages, their camps, their vacation homes. She can also do custom logos. And the one that I want to give a shout out to, I think is the sweetest thing. Being in Maine, when you see like the little Airstreams and little campers everywhere, and there's a little black lab in there, which is such an incredible Maine thing. All of these will be on our giveaway. If you follow us on Instagram at Plate the State and go to our Maine page on platethestate.com, please follow and give support to all the artists we have, and we'll be doing giveaways the whole week after this show. So Marin Skincare. So Patrick Breeding, he has a master's in biomedical engineering, and his partner Amber had suffered from eczema. And I'm sure we all know someone, or you do yourself, that has eczema, and it just really, it's a tough skin condition to live with, especially if it's on your face like it was for Amber. So when Patrick was in school, he researched and found out that these glycoproteins that are found in lobsters, not in the meat, but in another part of their body, and it helps with skin and cell rejuvenation, so they turned it into a cream. And this is unbelievable. If you go on their website, you can see all the before and afters and testimonials, but you don't have to have eczema to use this. It works for sunburns. I wash my hands all throughout the day, being in the kitchen, being in the garden, and I always say I have 80-year-old hands. Patrick sent us some of these. I've been using it for a couple of weeks. Now I just look like a regular 46-year-old, but it truly works. It's not greasy at all. And we did a podcast episode with him on episode 2, our Celebrating Seaweed, and you can learn all more about him, the research behind this, how it began developed, and how you can support him. So if you go on platethestate.com, you can check out the podcast and listen more about Marin Skincare. And then there's really nothing more Maine and coastal inspired than lobster ropes. And Little Salty Ropes is up in Deer Isle. It's a father-daughter team, and their products just really give such celebration to living on the coast in Maine. So using these ropes that lobstermen use to keep their buoys attached and durable, they make these beautiful products. They have doormats, these incredible baskets, and then they have these dog toys, which of course your dog is not getting through this. So you can buy it knowing you're supporting a really sweet family, and you're not gonna find pieces of toys or stuffies scattered throughout your yard. So I love using these to go to the farmer's market. They're super durable, you can wash them off, and the colors are just so fun and vibrant. And I just think if you're a gardener or going to the beach for sand, these are just such a wonderful thing to buy for the summer. So thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Mainer Made. Hop on our website and you can learn about all of the artists and small makers that we love supporting. We hope you do as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll be right back.
What are you dreaming about? Wake up to Town & Country Federal Credit Union. If you can dream it, we can finance it without stressing your budget. Sweet dreams begin at tcfcu.com.
Today's leftover ideas are brought to you by Town & Country Federal Credit Union, helping you stretch your food dollars.
Chef Jeremy here again for today's leftover tip idea. We're gonna work on some Togarashi. This is something that we use on the truck quite often. It's very simple to make. It's just a spice blend. This utilizes the leftover seaweed. We make ours with a little bird's eye chili powder, a little crushed red chili flake, a little ginger powder, some of the dried Maine seaweed crumbled up, and some black sesame seeds. This is a very great spice blend to put on most anything. The tuna was crusted in this for one. We use this on our street fries. It has a smoky, spicy flavor. It's not too spicy. You can adjust the spice levels with the bird's eye, and the chili flake is the hottest part of the ingredients that go into the spice blend. But like I said, you can really put it on most anything that you like, and it will give everything a nice flavor and texture. So thanks for joining us again on Plate the State, and you can find this recipe and any other recipe on platethestate.com.
Today's cocktail presented by Liquid Riot, a distillery, brewery, and resto bar located in Portland's Old Port. Enjoy a meal, cocktail, or beer on the waterfront deck. Spirits, 4-packs, and food are also available for takeout and delivery. Liquid Riot is proud to support local farmers. Cheers.
Hi, my name's Jenny. Welcome to Liquid Riot Bottling Company. Today we're going to be making a Bijou, which is a classic cocktail. It's usually made with gin, but today we'll be making it with Liquid Riot beer schnapps. This is made with distilled beer from our brewery, which gives it some floral components. So we're swapping that out for gin. So in a Bijou, you'll add 1.5 ounces of our Liquid Riot beer schnapps. And then we're going to do 0.75 of green chartreuse. And then 1 ounce of the classic Carpano Antica formula, 2 dashes of Regan's O bitters, then we'll add some ice. So we're just gonna give this a stir. I like to do a nice slow 20-second stir, and this is for dilution and like a nice smooth mouthfeel. You can also make this cocktail with equal parts of all of these ingredients. And then it's been known to take down a rhinoceros. We'll be straining that into our Nick and Nora glass. And then we'll express the oil of lemon. So that's a Bijou featuring Liquid Riot beer schnapps.
Here at Liquid Riot, we have a style for everyone. The tap beers, we're gonna have our staples. You know, you need IPAs, lagers, stouts, etc. But then we're always gonna have experimental stuff, super tart, sour, super fruity like candy, super boozy, you know, like bourbon. Try to have full spectrum of flavor in your glass. If you think you don't like beer or you think you don't like craft beer, come give it a try.
Thank you so much for joining this Seaweed episode of Plate the State. Please come to Bridgton, support Street Eats Food Truck and Mountain Range Golf. It was so great meeting you. This was such a fun episode. And thank you so much for following along at Plate the State and platethestate.com. And how can people follow you?
Street Eats _Maine is our Instagram, and Street Eats Food Truck on Facebook.
And Megan does all the pictures, and they are truly gorgeous. All right, Chef, take us away.
Hello, sunshine, won't you come in? It's been so long since I've seen that smile. Oh, and I'd be grateful if you would walk.
Take us out with his favorite pastime here with his, I don't even know what I'm saying.
That's all you mean.
Golf stick. Now, you don't normally associate seaweed and brick. Quiet on the set!
We're rolling.
One really important.
Well.